So as you can see here, I have a horizontal rod storage system, crate rod storage system, and I have it attached to my Old Town Autopilot 120. So let's take a look at this, show you how I made this. I just got my kayak, I just went out on the first voyage, and all the rods up there in the cockpit, I only brought like 4 with me. It wasn't working, and so I made this, and I don't see a lot of anything like this online. So as we usually do when we make these DIY videos, I'll share what I did with you all, and if it works for you, then good, check it out. So first things first, as you can see, it is 2 crates stacked on top of each other, and these aren't normal crates. These are just $6 crates at Walmart. They are a little flimsy on the plastic, so if you decide to do this with some sturdier milk crates and created your own little pipe system, I just got the idea walking through Walmart, and I saw that these had those kind of holes for rods to go through already, and so that inspired me to make this, and it seems solid enough. Let's take a closer look at some things, but these were $6 a piece. That's 12 bucks right there. We got zip ties, we have a little latch. The bottom crate has a bunch of tackle boxes. It holds a lot of gear. So let's check this out. We have over 10 rods in there. We can fit probably 14, but we have 10 in there right now. So let's take a closer look at this. There's a lot to show because there's actually a lot going on with this to make it work as effectively as it does. So as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3 holes, right? And so I cut a chunk out right there leading up to the one hole on the left side, and then it staggers, and I cut a chunk out on that side, and then I staggered it and cut a chunk out on that side, and I repeated the same pattern up front, and that's so we can slide our rods down through, and the rods, it will be a lot more work for the rods to come out. And then of course we have these orange ties also there to keep them from rising out. So you can see that top rope we have just latched onto the side, the little rubber rope, and it goes across, and we can easily unravel that and remove our rods when we need to. And then on the front we have more of the same. We're keeping those pinned down, and if we want, we can add another one across the top too. We can add as many of these as we like, and it just keeps them there. They're easy to move out the way so you can quickly get to your rods. And again, we got 10 rods in there right now because I only have 10 rods. A couple of the reels in here don't even work anymore, but I'm just using them as an example. So we have that little lock we have on there. The bottom, so I cut this out right here, and then I put holes in the bottom and big zip ties I ran through here. Or if you have smaller ones, just put multiple zip ties through, just so it's nice and not gonna break on you. And then I put a zip tie up here holding that little latch, and then I put a big zip tie right there for the latch to go through. You want to give yourself plenty of wiggle room. Don't get those zip ties too tight. You have to be able to lock and unlock things, and you got to have the flexibility on the bottom in order to move this. But let's try to open this up real quick with one hand. Let's see if we can do that. Okay, I'm filming with a monopod and not a tripod, so I know I was in the way of that and the camera was moving around, but we just unhooked the latch, that's all. And then we can flip it down. So it just opens up. Now if you see, these are the big Plano boxes. I can't remember the numbers of them. They're not all Plano either, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 of these Plano boxes. And the top one, we have to, I got a hawk chasing a little bird above my head. That was wild. This is tight, okay? There's 5 up there, and then there's 1 in the back standing up tall. Comfortably, I would say you could put 5 in here, but I squeezed 6 in. There's just enough wiggle room side to side, just enough to get them in there. And then there's extra room, so I put 1 in the back vertical. So you'd probably put the 1 in the back vertical that's stuff that you're like almost never going to use, but you need to have in case of an emergency or something. And then you can fit 5 of these big tackle boxes up front, and it's a little tricky to put the last one in. So what I did is I have 2 at a time for the last 2, and I put one in, and I push it up, and then bring the next one in, slide it in underneath, because there's a lip at the top, but you can fit one up in that lift if you slide one underneath, if that makes sense. So you can fit 6 of these in here, which is an insane amount of space, but you probably only need to put, you know, less than that. If you want to bring everything, I mean, you can put 6. There you go. You can see I welded across the entire thing connecting the 2. If you have a system where you can connect these 2, maybe more zip ties, and, you know, drill some holes, and you rather do that than weld this whole thing, you know, you can definitely do that. I don't even know if this is the best way. I'm always going to lift from the bottom handles because I don't want to break the weld. And I also say I will not transport this in the car this way. Yeah, I wouldn't transport it like this. It may be fine, especially if you put enough of these orange rubber tie down things. I don't know exactly what they're called, but if you put enough of those on here, I'm sure, you know, you would be fine, as long as, you know, you got these straps with the kayak, you got your back straps with the kayak. You know, I would definitely thread them through and lock it down on the front and back, and maybe even have another strap system that connects to your tracks and goes across, or one that comes around the whole kayak. But again, I wouldn't even transport it like this. I would make sure this setup can fit in your truck or in your car. I wouldn't transport it, but, you know, people are gonna do what they do. And that right there is another reason why I wouldn't transport with it. See how much they're hanging off the back? That's gonna get hit by a vehicle, especially down here in Florida. They ride your bumper. So yeah, I wouldn't transport with it in the kayak. And so there's just another look at it. You can see all those rods come through, and there's what, 6 holes across the top, so there's 18 spots. But you know, your reels are going to get in the way of one another, so you're not going to be able to put 18 in there. You could definitely put 12, because I got 10 in there right now, and I see room for at least 2, 3, maybe I could even squeeze 4 more in there and have 14 rods. Yeah, so you got room in here for sure. Now, if you're only gonna bring like 6 rods, and you have an Old Town, and you have this rudder right here, you might want to put your rods, 3 of them on this side and 3 of them on that side, and leave the middle open, so that when you let your rudder down, it won't be in the way. I just put it in here, and if I pull that back, or if I just lift it right here, actually, it will come through this just fine. I'm out of focus, but you can see that it just came through. So, you know, either when you launch, make sure you're in water that you can stand and manually do it. The other thing I would say, right now my cuts aren't clean, they're rough. The plastic is rough. I'm definitely gonna have to shave all that up, clean that up, smooth all that out, the front and the back, and because we don't want our line getting frayed on that stuff. So we're gonna have to smooth all that out. And I did the little plastic welding around the edges with just the little $10 Harbor Freight plastic welder. So I may even have to do that with all these parts just to ensure that it's smooth. We don't want to lose that state record bass on our DIY crate, you know, so we're gonna make sure it's right. And if you don't have the Old Town, let me show you the dimensions right here. It says 17 1/4 length, 14 1/4 width, and 10 5/8 height. Obviously you double that because there's 2 of them, and your rods will sit up high, and you can see it's close enough that reaching back when the seat is up, turning around, reaching back, and taking this off, and even removing that up there isn't a problem. this is about as far as I want to reach. I'm 5'9". I'm not that tall, not tall at all. And so I can reach that, you know, without, and I'm 260 pounds. I'm kind of big. So I don't want to be turning and, you know, and uncomfortable and stuff like that. And you can turn around and move this stuff around. And we still have the space right here to bring those tackle boxes out. Now we do lose a little bit of space, obviously, but this goes too high, so it kind of makes up for it. It's kind of like having two bam bam because it's too high. So it takes up most of your space. Me, I might still run something back here, like an extra lithium battery, because I run cameras and stuff, and I power a bunch of cameras and electronics, not electronics as far as live scope and stuff. Not yet. Maybe in like a decade when it's like affordable. But yeah, so I'll probably put a battery back here underneath that stuff, and it will sit underneath that height wise, and just squeeze in back there, and then I've got the room to maneuver everything here. So if you really want a horizontal rod system and you want to spend 12 bucks, here you go. I mean, if you got the zip ties, you got a way to fasten them, and you got a way to, I mean, if you go buy the, I mean, I got the really big zip ties. Those actually are kind of expensive. You'd be better off if you're buying them from scratch, probably getting not the ones that are like half an inch thick, but the ones that are smaller, and just double, tripling up in each spot to create your little latches at the bottom. And you can definitely do a better latch system. I just was doing super simple and better, what is that called, just where it pivots there at the bottom. And you can attach the two better. You can do quite a few things better than this. And even the orange tie systems, you can do a different tie system to kind of hold your stuff in place and ensure it doesn't go anywhere. I just like those. They're real easy. They're gonna be solid, but at the same time, you don't have to fumble with them and like try to get things latched on when you're like frustrated on the water or something. It's just real quick and simple. You move it out the way. Obviously, you're probably going to put the rods you're going to use the least at the bottom, figure out your kind of system. But yeah, that's it.